Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Fleet Success Show. I'll be your host today, Marc Canton. Today on the show, we're going to be talking with Bill Schankel. He is the CEO of NAFA Fleet. Let's get into it.
This is a Fleet Success Show, dedicated to helping you and your fleet succeed using the experience of fleet professionals and Hall of Fame fleet legends. The show that explores how the pillars of stakeholder satisfaction, intentional culture, resource efficiency, and risk management all combine to lead your fleet to success. We're glad you're here. Now, let's get into the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Fleet Success Show. I'll be your host today, Marc Canton, the VP of Fleet Strategy at RTA Fleet. And I am joined by my good friend and colleague, and frankly, someone I admire very much, Bill Schankel. Bill, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it. Looking forward to these conversations.
Super excited to have you back.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, tell the audience, I think at this point you've been on a few times. Probably our consistent listeners know who you are, but in case we're picking up a new listener today, tell the audience who you are.
Sure. So I'm Bill Schankel. I'm the CEO of NAFA Fleet Management Association.
You're being humble. The premier fleet industry organization on the planet. And Bill, thanks so much for coming back. You know, we spoke a little bit before this year's I&E, and I wanted to kind of bring you back. We didn't do this last year. I remember we wanted to do it. We couldn't connect. I wanted to have you on afterwards just to kind of, you know, while it was relatively fresh and kind of get your thoughts, you know, on the event. How do you think it went?
So it went really well. I mean, it was our largest event in well over a decade. Might have been one of the largest events NAFA's ever had from an I&E perspective.
Awesome.
We had a sold out exhibit floor, which was the first time we did that. So it the industry really showed up for the event in Cleveland this year. We're still collecting feedback, survey data. So anybody that didn't complete those surveys, please complete those. We do look at those. We do take that feedback seriously and try to improve things. But overall, it was really a great opportunity for everyone there. Like I said, with 2,200 people. And the breakdown was, it was really fascinating to see. It was literally a 50-50 split of corporate commercial fleet managers and government fleet managers. So as we kind of launched at I&E, the whole NAFA is every fleet, meaning that we truly do represent the industry. And we looked at the data after the fact of who showed up and who came, and it was within 3 people of a 50-50 split of government and commercial fleet. So it really is an event for everyone.
That's pretty amazing. And then I'm sure when you dig deeper, you see everything from cities to states to universities on the government side, to, counties, school districts. On the corporate, I'm sure, again, everything, construction, field services.
It's it's really every kind. I mean, it's amazing to see. I mean, it's there's always perception there's one type or another, but when you look at the depth of the types of fleets that were represented and that attended this event, it's really it runs the gamut of every group you can think of, which just kind of shows that this industry comes together. Every fleet is unique, but every fleet has similar challenges, similar issues, and it's really they came together to share the best of the knowledge that we have out there. And it's something that I'm very proud of that we're able to bring everybody together, no matter where you are in the world, and no matter where you are in your career, and no matter what type of fleet you have, we can offer value to you.
Yeah, it's a really important. I think that's really important. When people ask us, we've given this advice without you. I mean, you can go back and check the podcast. When people ask me what conferences you think I should go to, or something like that, my first answer is as many as you can, as many as your organization will allow you to go to. There's always an opportunity to learn, to network, et cetera. But then I say, look, if you really need to narrow it down, I recommend try to go to 2. If you can only go to 1, NAFA's got to be the one you go to, right? That's the one that's the all-encompassing to what you speak to. There's education that's both general enough for all of those fleets as well as specific to these various verticals that we're talking about, which I think is awesome. Same with the floor and the vendors and the technology and the conversations being happened there. So that's something I want to come back to, actually. So this really is the place, because I think it's important, because I think in the probably true in any industry, but certainly in fleet, there are things that government learns from corporate, right? And there's things that corporate learns from government. But then there's also things that are very specific potentially to your particular segment or area, right? And so my general recommendation to, especially young professionals who are getting into it is go to NAFA and then find one. If there is one that's like, very specific to your world, then that would be the good supplemental one, right? Because then you kind of get both super intense and focused on your specific area of fleet, as well as making sure you remain exposed, to the larger conversation and the larger tackle of the issues. What do you think? Do you think that's sound advice? Is that along the same page?
It is. Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, there's a lot of great conferences, a lot of great events that are, very specific for specific niche fleets, cover specific things. And we, at NAFA, we're very collaborative. So we work with all of those other groups. We're happy to reach out to them, happy to reach out if, whether it's a specific region, if it's a specific type of fleet. But really what NAFA brings together is the overarching fleet industry together to talk about the hottest topics, what's needed. And like we always talk about, 60 educational sessions that were submitted by peers of everyone, and they're selected by the peers. That's the other thing people don't realize. And our education committee that goes through the process and the people that do the peer review of these represent each type of fleet and pick the best of the best, knowing that in some cases this isn't necessarily specific to me, but this makes a lot of sense if you're this type of fleet. So it's truly a group that, they're looking what's best for the industry. So as you're saying, it is the overarching group, and then there's a lot of great smaller organizations and smaller events that are going to get more into the niche type of fleets that you have. But if you want to learn what's happening in fleet overall, really worthy event to go to.
Oh, absolutely. And again, you get specific enough into those areas where it's still, I would argue it's extremely helpful, but you know where to dig, in other words, right? Like, I think you really do a great job of pointing folks in the right direction there. I want to come, man, you've touched already on a few things I want to hit. One thing I want to say is you, as well as the rest of your team, I just feel like NAFA is in the midst of a golden age, if I could be honest with you. Like the passion that folks have about the industry, the whole leadership, the board, everyone I know and interact with are people that I would gladly stand by and say, yeah, this is legit here. So, kudos to you, kudos to your team for really putting together, a great group in all of your various areas and boards, whether it's the education and all of that. I just feel like we're, hopefully I don't get accused of too much schmoozing here, but I just mean it. I remember, I won't get into it, but I remember when it wasn't this way, and it's just awesome to see. And now I'm like the biggest NAFA fanboy here on the planet at this point. So,
well, I appreciate that. And I want to emphasize that, one of the reasons why we are in this golden age is we have, almost 200 members of the industry that are volunteering in different roles, from all those different things you mentioned, from an education committee to an editorial committee to membership committee, government affairs. Each of our regions have councils. We have local networking groups that have volunteers that are doing great things. We have an exhibitor advisory group. We have a CFM commission that looks at the content and the process of our CFM. So while we have a great staff, we have a great board, but there's hundreds of other people that are here to help us, kind of raise up the value of this, and we're actually recognizing those volunteers. April was Volunteer Appreciation Month, so it's a good timing. But it's we have a great group, and I think that's also what makes us so inclusive in a way, so that we are covering the right content of that people need to hear, is because we have such a depth of knowledge and experience that are feeding our program through these committees and councils and leadership roles and volunteers. We are really hearing a broader view of the industry. We don't just go and select one type of person. We want as many types of fleets, as many stages of their career that people can come and volunteer and get involved.
Because no one goes to school for fleet management, chances are you were never formally trained on how to successfully lead a fleet. That's where the Fleet Success Playbook comes in. The Fleet Success Playbook is your guide to building a safe, reliable, and efficient fleet that provides exceptional service. Learn all about the 4 pillars of fleet success: stakeholder satisfaction, intentional culture, resource efficiency, and risk management. Get nearly 100 years of combined advice on common challenges, practical solutions, actionable tips, and real examples from fleet industry experts who have been there and done that. Visit www.fleetsuccessplaybook.com to request your free copy today.
That's awesome. And you're right. You're absolutely right. It's the cumulative impact. I mean, you can see it. The regionals are so much more active than they ever were before. Part of that is sort of the empowerment and the encouragement. But again, Management 101, I did take Management 101. And I never forget, on my first day of class, the very first comment the professor made was, remember this, if nothing else, the CEO sets the culture, right? And you talked already, before we even talked about the people, how collaborative, you're very intentful. Anyone can go back and listen to previous podcasts. The collaborative approach to this is clearly very intentional, and that shows. And I think that's why so many people are volunteering. I think that's why those people are being very effective in their roles. I mean, I just think you got 200 people, man. Wow. And they're all doing great, So, there is something to that. And, it just goes to show, what it will do. And I don't want to drop that topic. I want to kind of come back to it from a different angle. But before I do, I want to comment on something you said earlier. I did not know that this was the first time you guys sold out in a while. But I will tell you, I noticed that the floor, I was very impressed with the floor this year. I thought it was an excellent floor, a great diversity of vendors, of different types of technologies, of new technologies. It did feel larger, frankly, than it did in years past. So hearing you say that, kind of corroborates that intuition of mine. I was really impressed. I won't lie to you. I think the best floor on the planet of any conference I've been to is the NTEAs. You've been there. I mean, yes. It's just massive. They also have resources like literally flowing out their ears. So, they ought to have a great floor, but they do. Give them credit. They execute. But I was really impressed. I thought that, especially for more of an industry conference than an equipment conference, that floor was really impressive. Was there anything specific you guys were trying to do or initiatives, or it was just, hey, we just kept executing on what we've been, and finally this year it kind of came together?
I mean, I think it's, some of it is we have a great team that executes on what we're trying to do. I think some of it is a little bit of a culmination of, as you said, some of the collaboration. So we've been to other events. We're out talking to other groups. We're not even talking to just other fleet and automotive groups, but in some cases we go out and talk to, other associations related to other industries. And I think starting some of those conversations, there's specific vendors or suppliers that are in those areas that didn't realize there was this one large fleet association they come to. They were talking to a very specific pest management group or something to that degree. And so I think some of it is a culmination of just us getting out to other industry events and other suppliers seeing NAFA as a viable option to go talk to, and starting to understand what our audience is. So I think there's a lot of that. And then, again, our event planning, our event team, they do a great job of just really continuing to execute. But it's a great opportunity. And the other thing we have that, really sells is we have great attendees, but as you mentioned, we have great exhibitors. So our supplier partners are a great resource. So a lot of them even, mentioned to some of their partners that you should be at this event. So, right. And even some of the individuals on our sales team say, it's still shocking to them that you don't see it's very rare to see an exhibit floor that is as collaborative as our exhibitors are together. I mean, you have competitors there, but everybody's still working together. They're still talking about potential ways that they can work together, collaborate. You have exhibitors, I say selling, but you have exhibitors working with other exhibitors to create products and work with each other. So it's really it's a unique opportunity, and it's just a unique show floor. But that's, I give credit to I think NAFA getting out to more places, our sales team doing a great job, and then our exhibitors really talking about the value of what this means for the industry.
It's so funny you say that, but you're right on point there. I mean, we see it and we feel it to the point where we not only bring, the typical people you might bring to a trade show, right? You might bring some marketing folks, some product folks, et cetera. But one of the people we make sure to bring now over the last several years is the person in charge of our partner program, because we have found that there's so much opportunity to collaborate. You just have such a collaborative environment there, and every year we seem to get another lead or opportunity on other vendors we might partner with or work with in some way, shape, or form. In addition to Obviously the fleet folks we're talking to, a lot of us, we're from the industry, as you know, at least here at RTA. So we would be there regardless. If we had to, we'd be there on our own dime. Thankfully, Josh doesn't make that have to be the case. But yeah, there's another element to it, and I don't want to overdo this or over mushify it. But I said this to someone, last year, after, on the second night we were there. I said, it's amazing. It takes a year, but every year I get back to NAFA and I remember this, what a cool vibe it is. It feels like a family reunion, honestly. And I mean that in the good way, not in the, your strange Uncle George who, right?
You might have
but
a
it's
few
like,
of those, but
you see people who maybe you haven't had the chance to talk to, and it feels like it feels like you've been with them your whole life, and there's just something neat about that. I don't know how to articulate it better, but it's just different. It's different than other conferences in that way, and I love it. I love it for that reason, for many reasons, but that's definitely one of them.
Yes, and we're thrilled when we hear the number of people that come back. Every year they make it part of the regular event. They put that into their budget each year and know that they're going to travel to this event. So we really do appreciate them. We also had a lot of first timers this year, which we emphasized and really tried to get them involved. So David Johnson and our team put together a first timer program. We had several kind of webinars and outreaches and sessions just for those first timers too, because as you said, it is a family reunion, which sometimes can be, if you're part of the family that may not have seen everybody for a long time, it can be a little overwhelming. So we wanted to make sure that we included them. Yep. They knew people going in. So we had, people willing to step up and say, hey, I'm if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. I'll be your peer that you can come and see and just get to know a name. So I think, we're trying to make it feel like that. If it's your first time or if it's your 30th time at the event, we want to make sure it feels like this is fun. People are welcoming. This is a friendly group. This is a good group. And that's really something we're trying to drive. One of the worst things I always think of is when you go to an event and there's a group of insiders and they have the circle and you're walking around the outside of the circle and they're just kind of looking over their shoulder at you without talking to you. And I don't want NAFA events to be like that. Our board doesn't want that. So I think that's what we're really trying to build. So it's good you said that. Awesome. That's something we're trying to build in the culture. So I'm happy to hear that.
Well, again, you just hit the nail on the head because I won't lie to you. I remember my first NAFA, and that's exactly how I felt. I felt like on the outside of the clique, and I don't think anyone intended that. This was many, many years ago, long before you were involved. But you're right, that can happen. But there wasn't a first timers program then, or at least if there was, I missed it. Right. So it's very wise and prudent. And I've heard some good things. I did speak with some first timers who really enjoyed it. So, like you said, getting that orientation, getting some familiarity before you get in the door. And that's something important because maybe somebody's watching this and haven't gone, and maybe they're going to think to go next year in 2027 or in a future year. Know that program exists and make sure that when you're registering or you're getting info, if it's your first time, even if you're an industry long timer, it still makes sense to kind of probably go through that. That's really cool. What I wanted to ask you next is what are there any takeaways you got from this year? Like, are there thoughts of, oh yeah, that went really well, we want to emphasize that next year, or maybe we're going to tweak this, anything like that you can share? I know it's still early, like you said, you're still gathering feedback, but if there's anything of that nature, that you can share with us.
So I think, we expanded our educational sessions this year. So we had 60 educated, which is the most education we had. So there was always a concern. Mary Beth on our team, our CLO, she does a great job putting it together with our education committee and peer reviewers. So we weren't sure if that was too many but what we found is it was really a good number because, pretty much every session room was full. We do take a sense of where the trends would be and see how we build that up. I think the one area we're still working on, and I still think there's a lot of value there. So something that we're going to look to continue to improve and reach out to is our technician training program. We know it's an important piece of this. We know not only training technicians, getting technicians up to speed on things is important. We added the NAFA garage where there was some hands-on type of demos on the show floor. We do the training sessions. We just really need to work with work to build that out. And again, this is only the second year we're doing it, but I think there's things we can improve on in that. And we look at it as, we want to make sure technicians get the training they need for their fleets, but also that these are future pipeline for fleet professionals potentially. So we want to make sure we're recognizing the importance of technicians in the whole ecosystem of fleet. So I think that's something we're continuing to look at ways to improve. We're doing some surveys on that. If any of your listeners have ideas of things that you think we can add, we're looking at, is there another layer of, shop owners or, specific maintenance managers that we need to add to that. So it's a technician track plus shop owner track, something to that degree. But I think it's something we have to build up. That's the one area that we're gaining traction, but not as much as I would like to see, but we're getting there. So I think you talk about things we need to improve. I think it's an important element of, as I said, this fleet ecosystem that we need to keep working on and focusing on.
Yeah, that's a great call out. I have another one I want to ask you about. Before the show this year, one of the things that we talked a little bit about was AI. It seems to be all the rage. You can't have a conversation without it being spoken here. And you mentioned how you're, trying to work that into your CAFM program, other areas. I think you had a couple sessions that talked about AI, and it was sort of an area of both interest and importance to you. And I'm just curious, anything come out of that? Any insights? I'm fishing here, but
we definitely saw it was important. So we look at the, again, we're getting the feedback, but we look at the sessions attended. The technology AI related sessions were among the highest attended sessions we have. So if you look at the top three categories, that was, I say AI/technology was number one as far as who attended each of those sessions. So it's definitely something important. We're still kind of working through, what that means for us. How do we continue to build this training so it's year round? Obviously, AI training once a year is not going to work because it's changing every month. So we need to keep that fresh. It changes too fast. So we're looking for ways to build some of that content into a year-round model for NAFA. But it was definitely something that we found that, members are very keen on it, obviously just based off the number of people that attended those sessions. So it was interesting. We look at kind of the big buckets of what were the top three categories of sessions attended, and that was number one. Number two was around culture, hiring, training of your people. Which is I think is a positive thing, shows the value of where the industry is. And then number three, I would say the third most were safety related sessions. So anything related to safety. So makes sense from our perspective that those would be the three big issues. But but definitely technology AI was the number one as far as the most attended sessions.
That's amazing. 4 pillars here at RTA Fleet, right?
Yeah.
Resource efficiency, intentional culture, fleet safety. Those are 3 of them.
There you go. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
You didn't even know you were plugging us there.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm only kidding. Okay. So, and just to kind of dovetail that real quick, or maybe put a cap on it, but I was at the media day. We were announcing our sublet capture, which uses AI to read invoices, just to kind of try to cut down on the time that it takes to enter sublet orders into your system, as well as, improve accuracy. And frankly, almost every vendor there were a couple of sort of more automotive or upfitter vendors, but in one way, shape, or form, virtually every vendor there was there to talk about AI in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, it's one of our messages to the industry is, whether you love it or hate it, I don't really care. You need to be on top of it. You need to understand it, or you do really run a very high risk of kind of being left behind, frankly. And I have a theory I've spoken recently, which is I actually think AI is going to do more for us, Bill, than almost any other industry, in the sense that, if I'm being honest, we have traditionally been a little bit behind on the adoption of new technology and new analytical and data leveraging approaches. I think we were improving, but we're certainly not where the rest of management, was. Maybe we are there now, but I can remember in the mid 2000 teens thinking, wow, we're 25 years behind here. And what's going to happen, I think, in AI is it's going to generate this massive acceleration towards catch up. Skills and things and technologies that we haven't been used are going to get leapfrogged because AI is going to essentially do that for us or assist in doing those kinds of analyses and that kind of work. So I really expect to see the world of fleet management to essentially just accelerate tremendously in the amount and the efficiency with which we can get work done here over the next couple of years. So that's my prediction. Welcome to hear your feedback about it. We'll have to wait and see if it's true, I'm sure. But someone will hold me to this and play this
from
video.
What we hear from our members and the questions we get, the stories we're hearing from people that are utilizing it. I think, a few years, 2 years ago, like you said, it was a lot of, well, I don't have to worry about that, or I don't say fear, but people saying I'm a little worried about it, to now we're seeing much more in the conversation I'm having with members of how they're utilizing it, how they're looking for suppliers that do utilize, as you mentioned. It now has become no longer, well, I don't want to deal with that, or I'm worried about that. It's just become, how do we utilize that? And I think, from our perspective, as you said, sometimes it can be a little slow, but I think these last few years, I think the industry has really picked up to become early adopters in some of the new technologies. And I think, this is one that, I think is really going to jumpstart the industry in a lot of ways, because I think people now are no longer worried about new technology, but like, how do we use it first and move it forward? So yeah, I see it being a huge game changer, and something that, from the industry association perspective, we have to make sure we're on top of, and we keep educating people on best practices. And a lot of what we do is related to, the best practices and the policies around that. So kind of the standard operating procedures. So we're right now in a little bit of that whole, the what are the best policies, what are the best practices. So I think that's something that our role is to sort all that out and come out with a current best practice, which will probably change in 60 days, but we'll keep working on
absolutely.
it. So.
Yeah. That's the nature of it right now. The pace at which it learns is just staggering. I mean, we have AI companies saying that they're turning off the AI because they can't contain it. It's escaping their containment. I mean, that's scary sci-fi stuff right there, Bill. I'll tell you.
It is, yeah.
Okay. What do we have? So let's talk about the rest of the year here. All right. We've been looking back. What's on the docket for NAFA here in the next few months or rest of the year, really? Whether it's an event, an educational session, anything that you want to kind of call out that folks should maybe have their eye on?
Sure. So we have a lot of great events happening for this year. So our local networking groups and regions continue to have great programs throughout North America scheduled. So everybody should check out NAFA.org, look at our region schedule. There's a lot of great events happening. Every region has an event planned for the rest of this year, whether it's a regional event or a local networking group. So I think there's still about 100 events happening in that case. So if you're looking for something in your area, I can pretty much guarantee we'll have it. If we don't, reach out, we'll get something scheduled. On a national level, again, we continue to visit and be part of national events. We're going to ACT Expo. We're teaching some sessions at ACT Expo. NAFA is presenting on sustainability and safety. We're going to be at GFX in June. We're actually going to be at FleetCon, which is a Fleet Pros event, at the end of August. To present on our CFM program, so we'll be there. And then we actually have our safety symposium. It's coming up October 19th in National Harbor, Maryland. That's going to be part of we're co-locating that with Bobbitt's Fleet Forward Conference, and that should be a great event. We'll announce we have a full day of sessions and educational training that day, and then also going to announce our first ever safety. Part of our 100 Best program, we're doing our Safest Fleet Awards. So we'll be announcing those at that event in October, on October 19th. So we're looking forward to that. We have our Green Fleet Awards. That'll be announced at the NC State Clean Technology Fleet Conference. That's in August. So we're going to be at a lot of different events. And then, then kicking off next year will be our first year of doing our big collaboration with NTA. You mentioned Work Truck Week. So we'll be working with them on the Future Truck Summit with NTA, working on the content with them. And so really really what NAFA is trying to do is just bring our education to a lot of other really important, really strong conferences and events, trying to add what we can to bring value to those groups through our education, certification, those types of things. We have one smaller event coming up in May as well, where we have some fleet professionals going to DC to do some congressional briefings on positions that are important to the fleet industry. So we'll be doing that as well in May. So we're all over. So if you look for NAFA, you should be able to find us somewhere.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I think folks who've listened here know that I'm also a big fan of NTEA. Ironically, it's the opposite of NAFA in the sense, if NAFA is the family reunion, then the NTEA is like one of those speed dating shows. I just feel like I'm always meeting so many new people there, and it seems to go by like at hyper speed for me. But there's so much cool tech and so much to learn, and they also do a lot of great work for our industry. So when I heard about that collaboration, that really made my heart sing. I feel like it's a match made in heaven. And now what you just mentioned to me, I didn't know. I hadn't been caught up on the Fleet Pro. That's something, I'm passionate about both of those organizations. So to hear you guys collaborating there, I think that's, that's really music to my ears, frankly. So that's great. And again, that speaks to what we were talking about earlier, right? You're very intentional about being collaborative and how these various organizations can help each other. And, I think kudos to you and kudos to them, because in the end, it's not about the organization per se. It's about what we're doing for fleet professionals in the industry. That's why we exist,
right.
And you're living that. So,
right.
I think that's really neat. I want to also mention, because you talked about the safety piece that you're co-locating with Fleet Forward, which I also like Fleet Forward. That's another. I like them all. Guess what am I talking about here? Fleet Forward's a fun one for me. It's a little different, but that's the place to go if you really want to think about like the newest tech and what's kind of coming down the pipe. I think that's great. But the week before is what I would maybe argue is the biggest event of the year, Bill, which is RTA's Fleet Connect.
For sure, yeah.
So
I don't want to steal your thunder, but yeah.
So we'll be in Chicago the week of October 12th, so you can come over and then just hop, skip, and a jump over to Maryland and attend your safety awards and also the Bobbit event, I guess, if you like. And and our event is so much more than a user conference. As you know, Josh had started the Fleet Success Summit years ago, a couple years back. We merged them, and so certainly there's plenty about our software, but we get a surprising number of, literally hundreds of attendees who are just, or not necessarily Connect RTA users, but come for the fleet management content and the leadership content that we put on. So if you're interested, you can also see our website there. So we have nafa.org, which is nafa.org, and then of course rtafleet.com, where you can get tons and tons of information for it. Bill, did you mention FLAGFA? That's another one that's always on your hit list. Did I miss that one? Okay.
We were at FLAGFA in March. We'll be down again in September for FLAGFA event. We definitely, that's something we do every year. And we, obviously your conference as well was very important. I think I think some of your sessions are going to be, or have been approved for CFM credits as well. So definitely we find a lot of value there. But yeah, FLAGFA is another great event we go to. We are joining some other regional events. There's a GTSE, which is happening in Vegas in November. That's a regional, was a Northwest event, but that's kind of more a Western group out there that we're going to be working with. We're doing an event with the Arkansas government fleet managers in October as well. So trying to get, again, we're not competing. We're just collaborating. We're just here to do what's right for the industry. So a lot of great events, but hopefully I can get out to your event as well in Chicago.
Yeah, we're really proud of that. That was something we've been wanting to kind of achieve for a while. So yeah, some of our sessions are going to get you, what's the right phrase? Recurring or ongoing,
recertification.
After you get your CFM.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm sorry.
The recertification credits.
Recertification.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really, very, very exciting there. I mean, you must travel like, I thought I traveled a lot, but you guys are just everywhere all the time.
Yeah. I'm in the air a lot. So
where are you right now, Bill? Are you home?
I'm actually home
are you
today,
on the road?
so it's actually nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm home today. I'm home for a couple of days and then head out next
Oh,
week
okay.
again. So
Okay, there you go. There you
yeah,
go. I actually mentioned you to my wife when she's like, "You're always on the road." I'm like, "No, there's this guy Bill. I want to introduce you to him."
yeah,
Real quick, I want to, we talked a little bit about some of the regional, I just want to put myself, you mentioned earlier about the first timers with, with the I&E and maybe I'm a new I remember being a new I remember being introduced to NAFA by Ron Gittleman over at Yale. And like you said, sometimes it's just, there's that, like, it's usually in our own head, but there's that wall to pierce, let's say. So let's tell people a little bit about what's it like. Like if first off, they can find information about their regional by going to nafa.org and just looking for their region. That you probably have someone like right next to you in the town next door, who's already involved with NAFA. I would bet my left hand that's true for 99% of folks who might be listening or hearing. But if you've never been to an event and you kind of want to, dip your toe in it, a regional's a great way to go. Obviously every event might be a little bit different, or sometimes the specific focuses, but generally speaking, what's the architecture? I mean, I've been to many, what's the architecture of what a regional day might look like or something like that?
So we have a lot of our regional events that are going to be a half day event, 4 to 6 hour events. So you start at 9, you're going to be out by 2-3 o'clock maybe at the latest with a lunch in there. Gets a chance to there's going to be some good education. We usually have panel discussions. Some cases we relate it to our 100 best program, so we'll have 100 best award winners there talking about things with their fleets. In other cases it's a hot topic panel, again usually presented by, as you said, fleet managers that are in your neighborhood. So these are people that are talking about something they did, giving examples of something they use in their fleet that are generally right there. We have several different vendors there that also present on their solutions and have opportunities to talk to them. It's nice because they're generally 50 to 100, 125 people at these events. So why it's great to have everybody in the industry at an I&E. At times that can get a little overwhelming. These local regional events, really give you a chance to have, a little bit deeper conversations in some cases, because it's a more intimate setting. You can talk to people, you really get to know the people. And there are also people that are generally, within an hour, 2-hour drive from you. It's bringing together people from a much closer geographic range. So it's a good opportunity to do that. Most of them, like I said, are going to include a few hours of education, hot topic panels, something on a few presenters on specific issues. In some cases, we just have regional or local network events that are just pure kind of networking and fun. So go to a baseball game, and golf tournament, could be just a luncheon type of thing. I think we had groups do Top Golf, bowling, everything from that. So I mean, in some cases just get together and have coffee. But it's bringing that community together and having those conversations. And even if you don't talk about something fleet specific, you get to know somebody in fleet. And then next time you have a question, you now know somebody that's near you. You pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I have this question. So it's great. As I said, we have over 100 events, local events happening each year. I think we're close to 120 for this year going on. But if there is an area that you see, if you're listening to this, you go to nafa.org and say, hey, you know what, there's nothing within 3 hours of me, give us a call. We have members in those areas. We're happy to look to see if we can put something together. Like I said, maybe we just put together a coffee hour for you all, but we'll put something together in your area to make sure you have the opportunity to talk to people and get to know people in your area.
Right. And this is really important to me personally because a few things here. Number one of the things we'll talk about on this show, Bill, is there are a lot of organizations that, unfortunately, frankly, won't give fleet managers and fleet professionals the resources they need to travel much, the time away, whatever it may be. This is a much easier sell, especially if it's the first time sell, to your leadership. Hey guys, I need a day. I can drive to it. No hotels, no flights. I don't need any money. I just need to show up. Those sorts of things, or it's very minimal anyway. Maybe they're asking for something to help cover lunch. I don't even know. I don't recall.
They're usually it's usually nominal $25 type of thing.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, it's not something that's going to block you from going ever. So that's why I think it's so important, and it's on top of all of the benefits you get from the networking and the education. I'm also a big believer, and I think you agree. It's important. Like, we put fires out all day long as Fleet Man. We just, it's just nonstop. It's heavy. It's high pressure. It's fast paced for most fleets most of the time. And so that day away to stop and get outside of your business, instead of working in the business, you need time to work on the business. If you don't, the business doesn't change. It doesn't transform. It doesn't improve substantively, right? So you need that time to just kind of step back and think about the organization instead of in the organization, so that you can really get strategic and hone in on what are the critical three here? What are the critical few things that I can go back and make an impact on, And just having that space, I feel, is so important, and the idea to bounce ideas off of other people who've done it or maybe experiencing the same thing. It's just super valuable, I highly encourage, man, if you at least promise yourself this year, write it down. You promise yourself to go to at least 2 events this year. And if they're 2 regional one days, so be it. Get out there, go do it. You'll be happy you did. And I welcome folks, comment, email us, maybe other folks are reading the comment. If you agree, if you disagree, let us know. Let folks know what you're experiencing. I'm willing to bet there are a lot of listeners here who will say, yep, at some point in my career, I did this, just that. And it changed my career. It made things so much better. So really encourage folks to do that. Bill, I'm just going to ask you, any other thoughts, any closing thoughts, anything I didn't hit that maybe you were hoping to discuss today?
No, I think we covered a lot. Like I said, the one thing, we do have an intentional culture here of trying to collaborate, trying to make sure we're doing everything we need to do. So I just really want to emphasize, I talked about our volunteers. I want to emphasize, if any of your listeners, anybody out there saying, hey, NAFA's missing this, or I attended something and it didn't have exactly what they call us, because we keep evolving too. So we're not, we have room for growth. We have things we can do. So please, reach out. If you want to get involved, we have opportunities to get involved. I mentioned nearly 200 volunteers. We'll find things for everybody to do. So if you want to get involved, please reach out.
That's awesome, Bill. Well, thank you for spending the time here. This is, I know I always kind of keep you long, so thank you for being generous with your time. Really hope to have you on again soon. Maybe we'll make this sort of a regular thing every so often. Maybe we can talk in another few months. We'll see. But it's an absolute pleasure working with you. It's a pleasure being a member and participating in NAFA. Thank you for what you've done for the industry. And I hope you'll agree to come back on the show soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank Emma, thank you and RTA, obviously big supporters of us, and we appreciate everything you all do too. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not on the road quite as much as you, but I will see you at GFX. I'll shake your hand there. And and until then, I hope you have a wonderful day. And with that, folks, we're going to call that a show. If you have any questions or suggestions or comments, please leave them in the comments of whatever app you're using to ingest this, or email us at podcasts@rtafleet.com. If you have any interest in our fleet management information software, please visit us at rtafleet.com. Or if you are interested in fleet consulting or advisory services, need help with a big project, just go to fleetconsulting.com. And of course, Bill, as he mentioned, if you want any information about NAFA, the various things they're doing, or you want to get involved or learn about the educational sessions or the CIFM certificate, go to nafa.org. That's nafa.org. And with that, we're going to call it a show. Till next time, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on LinkedIn or leave a review. Want to learn more about our fleet management software, Fleet 360? Check us out at rtafleet.com. If you want to learn more about having your fleet evaluated by our consulting team, go to fleetconsulting.com.